Welcome to the Thursday, November 16 Town Board meeting. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency exits are to my right, near the town clerk, and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
You noted that Councilman Delango is absent. Councilman Morris?
Here.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle? Here. And Supervisor Perotti?
Here. And before we start our reports, we have a special presentation by Christine Ford and the baseball program.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
Were you doing public comments?
Yes, after Christine's done.
Okay. It's not on the agenda.
I know it wasn't. Got left off. Doesn't mean we won't do it. Yep. You're on.
So my name is Christine Ford. This is my 6th year doing Amenia baseball. Before I get talking about everything, you know, when we do these baseball groups, the money involved is outrageous. It's nice when you can find people who are willing to sponsor and willing to coach. It's really hard to find people who are really honest people to do this for me. And I'm really taken back how our community has come back and how our community has really helped the baseball program here in Amenia. So before I go any further, I would really like to thank a few individuals, if you don't mind. Okay, the first one we're going to thank is he was coaching this year for, he's going to come up. He coached this year for Babe Ruth. He's coached many years. He's done 30 some odd years here. He's as a volunteer for baseball in the program. I talked him into becoming a Babe Ruth coach this year. I rode him like you wouldn't believe last winter. Kept after him, kept after him, kept after him. DJ Riley. Thank you very much. Shake your coach's hand.
We'll see you again in the spring.
Yep. We had Romelia Farm was actually their sponsor. I don't know if I said it the right way. They were supposed to show up, and I don't see him here to collect it, so I'll make sure he gets that. Our next group that we're going to talk about is actually Connie Mack. These are children from 16 to 19-year-olds. I shouldn't say children, they're more young adults. They're boys. They had a new coach this year who put them through the ringer. It's not just, so you think I live in Amenia, I can play the game. No, you have to show up, you have to show respect, and you have to actually put your heart into it. And I was really impressed how this person was, and I have been riding his butt to be coaching next year. Chris Milano. Thank you. So the next one is actually going to a gentleman who helps us out doing a lot of stuff in our programs. He's known as the Amenia baseball pitcher, our pitching coach actually. He has, a lot of the boys have respect for him. The younger ones who don't know him actually do know him more than you think because he's around everywhere. I'm glad we became really good friends. This year he decided to also step up and help Chris Milano, who's never coached before, coach. And they were a great team together. So Mr. John Lamb. So we have two sponsors come out of the woodwork, should say. I think might have harassed the one a little bit because my middle son works for him. So this gentleman came up and he said, okay, I'll help sponsor. Actually, at the time, I was looking for businesses to help me with the John Lamb tournament, which we'll talk about later. And I said, wait a minute, I have something better. Would you help so we can actually have nice jerseys? So the money can go towards like umpires, which are extremely expensive because you have to have 2 for Connie Mack. We have to have baseballs, which when I get baseballs in, they're anywhere from like $700 because that's how much you have to get, and we don't have very much afterwards. So he wanted to see some information and stuff, but I'm just around and I'm like harassing type of person. So he accepted, and I appreciate everything he has done. Bruce Television, Todd.
That's nice.
Shake his hand, William. Thank you. So then Todd says, wait a minute, I have a really good friend who will actually help too. So actually, I had nothing to do with this one. Todd actually harassed his own friend. So I owe this gentleman a lot of gratitude. He doesn't even have his business here in Amenia, and he was willing to help this baseball team. A majority of the kids are all over the place. We have some from Copake, Pine Plains. Do we have some from Dover? I'm not sure. I think we had maybe a couple from Dover. I mean, they were everywhere. We had Amenia too, don't worry. But to be on this team, you actually had to bust your hump. And it was really good to see. These kids had respect. They were good in the dugout. And I wanted to tell you that I was impressed. You didn't have to worry about what Amenia said. You had to worry about what the other team said. So this is what it is. So Berlinghoff Electric, I am really, thank you very much for everything you did. Thank you so much. During our John Lamb tournament, I had coaches that stepped up, 3 of them from Amenia, and only one happened to show up here today. So Amenia, each of the coaches got a nice picture of the team, and with John Lamb, Chris DiCarlo. Chris will also... Chris is also going to stay and be the Little League coach, too, next year. He has no choice because he's got a young son. So he's my only coach that I know is definitely staying for Little League. Thank you. I also had Kevin Dunlop, his son Peyton. They won't be here next year because they've outgrown the program. And Sean Howard, his son, has outgrown the Little League program, too. So we've lost some really good people that did that. We had some amazing pictures to show. I would like to now have my children, my sons, go up and show you. One is opening day of baseball. The other one is the John Lamb Little League Tournament, our very first of the year, and I will make sure this program stays as long as I'm around in Amenia.
Wow.
And that is for the town of Amenia.
Beautiful.
Each of the towns that participated in this also were able to get one. The coaches and stuff. Give it to the board, that belongs to them.
You could leave it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll add that to our collection.
We need to let them know that it was an interesting, our John Lamb Little League tournament. Actually, it was June 17th. We had 5 teams: Amenia, Millerton, Pine Plains, 3 town, which included, I believe, Sharon, Kent, and Cornwall together to make a team. And then we had Lakeville. I always called Salisbury. I guess I get in trouble for saying that. At the end of the day, I have to, Pine Plains took first, second was Lakeville, and third was Amenia. It was really good games. I know between Pine Plains and Lakeville, we had to go longer inning, I believe another game, and we had to pay longer for the umpires, and they had a great time. We got enough sponsors to help make sure that we had stuff in the morning. We had coffee, we had juice, we had water, we had Gatorade for all day long. We had lunch, hot dogs and hamburgers. I had Ryan Kilmer, who was awesome, on the grill showing my son William how to cook. off the grill and doing it. We were constantly going all day type of thing. It was nice. It was a team effort. I had Dawn who sat there with the ambulance in case we needed anything. I had Chris Milano and Steve Reed who did the announcing at one of the, and it was so fun. Like everybody's kids got involved. Even if you weren't playing, you got involved. It was fun. Everybody got t-shirts that said the John Lamb tournament. We had a great time. It was an awesome day. There was a lot of food, so I know next year not to order so much food. But I gave out thank yous to all the vendors, everybody that helped sponsored. It looks like this. This one is actually John Lamb's. So boys, you can go give this to Mr. Lamb. The businesses that actually took the time and no questions asked and actually gave money to help this was Wells Sanitation, Northwest Landscaping, Harlem Valley Materials, Lee's Tree Service, Wes's Auto Body Works, Stone Resource, Romelia Farm, Rennie's Store, GK Electric, Copperfields, Green Acres, Country Gardeners, Richie's Deli, Talk of the Town Deli, Salmon Aaron Bailey, Bruce Etkin Family, Marty Coughlin's Garage, Fresh Town, Drug World, Lalengos Automotive, Wasaic Grill, Sean Goff, Main Tamers, Voorhees Event and Tent, and Murphy's Tree Farm. Everybody gave money to help to make sure we had a great day. And let me tell you, we had a great day. I've heard from other towns and they're like, you're gonna do this again, right? We're gonna do this. And I said, yeah, we're gonna do it earlier, not so much later in the season. And it was a beautiful day. They had so much fun. I understand that Little League usually goes somewhere over in Connecticut for some kind of tournaments. And they said they'd rather come here to our tournament because they enjoyed themselves and we made them feel like family. That's all that matters. For Farm League, I've handed in $3,360. It's all accounted for between our Tiny Tots, our T-ball, our minor leagues, our majors, Little League softball. What you don't see is when I do at the end of the year, nobody comes up and sees how these people are. I have amazing coaches. And for my Farm League coaches, Tiny Tots, I had Scott Boardman, his first year, his son did it, and he had a great time. I told him he was wearing a purple shirt, he had no problem. We got out there and we had a good time. Also for Tiny Tots, I had Harrison Ford, and he made some really good friends, and these kids learn. They like seeing and looking up to people that are not scary adults. I also had Victoria Gillio. Not only did she get credit for school, but she loved doing this too, and the little girls had so much fun out there running with her. And then, excuse me, and then T-ball. I had Mike Delango. He did a good job. We also had Lawrence Wilcox and Jeff Cook. For the minors, I had Paul Winters. Paul has been with me for 6 years, and his daughters don't play baseball or softball. He says as long as I'm staying around, he's staying around. These kids look up to him. He teaches them all the basics that they don't know and they don't understand. He plays down here, if you ever see them. They're here usually twice a week because our fields are so busy over there in Amenia and I can't get them in. He's like, so can I come here? And I said, yes. I come and visit. We have some parents who don't like the way he coached. So I show up and not a parent would say anything. Because you know what? How he coaches is how I coach. You have respect for the coach. There's no, it's not a baby thing. You learn. If you don't want to learn, then don't play. It's 100%. You put your effort in it and you will get something out of it at the end. Even if you don't like baseball, by the time these kids were done with him, they loved baseball. They had a great time. He also had a parent that stepped up and helped him, Carlo Chiorenzo. For the majors, I had Scott Russo. I can't remember. He had a couple of parents that stepped up and helped him too. He had a great team. They did really well against other teams because my minor league and the major leagues actually travel from town to town. And they have a lot of fun. Then, like I said, Little League, we had Sean Howard, who won't be coming back next year, and Kevin Dunlop, who won't be coming back next year, and on top with Chris DiCarlo. Those three gentlemen worked amazing together. These kids, they learn a lot. We also make Mr. Lamb come over and help with the pitchers because this is where they learn. This is how they learn. For softball, this is where we're going to be in trouble. Our senior league, we had Christy Kilmer, and she's been with this group forever, and no longer will do it. This was her last year. And Trisha Laundrie. These women were amazing. What they did, they traveled. They do a lot of games over in Massachusetts. They take the time with the girls. It's fun to watch. And Mr. James, and I can't remember James's last name, unfortunately, I don't remember. For our juniors, we weren't going to have a group. Then we had Matt Hosier step up. He used to play with the Amenia Monarchs, and he decided to not do that anymore and actually be with his daughters. So he will be the one in charge next year. And it's amazing to watch. And I made sure anything he needed, I helped him. Even though I'm not supposed to be in charge of softball, I kind of just do it. I'm there to make sure everybody gets whatever they need. If there's a problem, I step in. If there's a parent issue, I make sure I step in. So the board doesn't have to hear anything. I do it all. And some days I want to hurt some parents, but it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Like I said, for Babe Ruth, we had DJ Riley. At that time, he also brought his son, Nick Riley, up. So some of the kids watching a younger gentleman who graduated a few years from Weebatok, and just to kind of start figuring how it all is, to start seeing this. So this might be, eventually, he might be just the coach, which would be nice. For Connie Mack, like I said, we had Chris Milano. And he will stay next year. He has no choice. Even though his kid's not there, he is not leaving. We have John Lamb and Dave Gillio. He also graduated a few years ago, and he had the greatest time. He enjoyed these guys. He has so much fun with these. He would also help out with Babe Ruth, too, because he likes seeing the younger individuals and the boys, how they're playing, and just show them different things. And just to see that, the children actually look up to them. And that's all that matters. So, in a nutshell, I just want to let you know that you do have a great program. You should be very honored that any game that we ever had was well behaved. Our teams are right up there. If there's a problem with a coach has, or if there's a problem with a team, I'm usually around, and they can call me anytime, 24/7, and it happens. I show up wherever it is. If there's an issue, if a coach can't be somewhere, I try to help out. Opening day is pretty big for us. Makes me go crazy. It makes them hate me, pretty much. I can't help it. But if it wasn't for my youngest son, William, we wouldn't have an umpire. I don't pay for that when we do our major league games here on our fields. We have a beautiful field. It's too bad we didn't have another beautiful field, because we could actually use all the time. And I feel that this program is I hope it really does stay. The problem is my youngest son will graduate in the year of 2019. That's when I will step down. I will run the program. Up until that time, I will make sure the summer program goes, and then somebody's going to have to step up. And hopefully it will be a person that loves it as much as I do, that loves our community and wants the children to stay out of trouble. It's it's not as hard as you think it is. It's just if you have a people person and you love to talk like I do, it's not a problem. If you have to do anything on the computer, I'd rather not do it. That's just the truth. So when we're out and about, I have no problem getting stuff together. I will make sure I stay with the John Lamb Little League tournament for a while until I move out of the area. But I just wanted to give you guys heads up. This is what's going to happen eventually. Any questions?
No, we just want to give you thanks and just tell you what a wonderful job we think you're doing. And I'm sure the coaches and the children and the parents appreciate the time and energy you put into this program.
Yep, I believe in this program.
Public comment?
Thank you, Christine. We love you, Christine. And just so the board knows, I took the program over after Pete Clare, which was never easy. And then when I moved into town clerk, Christine took it over because it would have been too much. And she's really run with the program. Every year she turns in her budgets. Every year she turns in all of her reports. She gets me all of our flyers. She advertises. I mean, she really goes over and beyond. And, my kids have outgrown the baseball program, but just to see how she's continued to give the life of baseball, because really Amenia is a baseball community, and she's kept the heart of the baseball life in our community. So she truly deserves the applause that we gave her.
And she was our WASIC Citizen of the Year about 10 years ago.
Yeah, and
I
she,
hope her plaque is out there.
yeah.
Okay, Wayne Uvard for public comment, and I would certainly second all those comments about Christine and all the coaches. They certainly were fortunate here in Amenia to have the wonderful sports programs we have. I have to say, I guess I'm quite disappointed, and almost a harsh word of disgusted, the way the budget process went this year. I was looking for an updated budget this afternoon to review. I finally get the paperwork at 5 minutes to 7 this evening, which says adopted budget. And according to your agenda, I guess you're going to adopt it. From what I've watched and looked over, it appears you've had one budget meeting. Always years in the past, there's been a lot more discussion. There's been meetings with department heads and committee chairs, etc. I'm probably going to be a little harsh, but I'm sorry. Many years, there's been a lot of work going to this budget. To me, it appears that it's the supervisor's budget and that alone. It certainly appears that she took care of her friends. I was chairman of the kitchen committee.
What friends?
I have gone to the board a couple of times. We know this is an important project. I guess this latest thing is a real slap in the face to the whole committee. Originally, you had $10,000, which really wasn't going to help us a lot. It went down to zero, and I see you put $1,000 in. $1,000. I mean, that is a real slap. And how did I find out about it? I didn't get the paperwork until 7 o'clock. But there was an article in the Millerton News this morning's paper. And I know Ms. Lyle normally does a very good job. It said a brief public hearing was held at the workshop on November 2nd to discuss the preliminary budget, though there was no comment from the public. Well, I stood up here for quite a while and went over quite a few things. So I can't imagine Supervisor Perotti how she came up with that. Is it possibly something you told her?
Perhaps she thought of you as the assessor versus the public,
Well,
giving your report as the assessor.
Pretty amazing. And then in the letter that came out in today's paper, it said that the engineering went down to $550 and the kitchen has $1,000. So you took, the engineering was $6,500. You took $1,000 from that to give $1,000 to the kitchen. So obviously you don't have any ideas of going forward with this kitchen. So I am now formally, I'm retiring, whatever the word is, from the kitchen committee. Hopefully, if the other members want to stay on, I will certainly help them what I can. But it's ridiculous to bang my head against the wall when there isn't any money or any support from the town board. I noticed the zoning personnel services line goes up almost $6,000. Now, you know I've been begging for extra money for Donna Morrison because of Silo Ridge. Now, finally, at the last minute, it appears you put a little bit in there for her. And I look at the operating statement for October 31st. In the zoning, which that budget had a budget of about 9,000. Where's my notes? The budget was 9,000. You're already up to 13,300 you've paid out in that line. So even though you had a budget there at 9,000, you must have said, oh, well, let's give them extra hours up there in zoning.
We just don't give them extra hours.
Well, you
They
did.
earn it.
Oh, they did? Well, I looked, how many zoning board meetings? I think they've had 2 or 3 meetings this year.
You have no clue what goes on in that office.
I do have a clue.
No, you don't.
I have a, yes, I do.
I'm not going to argue with you,
Okay, fine.
Blaine. Just
But-
go up,
but-
say your piece, and sit down.
I just want everybody to know that even though the budget was at 9,000, you've already spent 13. You have people sitting up there that are just getting extra money when other people are begging for money. Now, you were always worried, and I was worried about the cap too when I was in your seat. But I'm curious, how did we get 300,000 for the ambulance last year and not go over?
Because we had extra money from the building permits and mortgage tax.
The mortgage tax, okay. So we're not going to have any more building permits this year? I mean, I just can't imagine you couldn't find extra money for the kitchen. But the way this works now, is our town tax going to go up or down next year?
We're going to be under the cap. It may go up a little bit. It doesn't, because if you have to add the highway and the town together.
I think we went over this last meeting.
Right.
Absolutely. If you all have your tax rate schedule, that's on the back page of the paperwork you got today.
Right.
It's very similar, okay? It's amazing, you don't know whether your taxes are going up or down, and you're going to adopt this budget. Just curious, does anybody know what your town tax, roughly what you pay in town tax? Damien, do you know?
I do.
Huh?
I do.
A ballpark, how much?
I'm not comfortable saying, but I know.
It's public information.
Great.
They can look it up.
Is it over 1,000?
Yes.
It's okay. You're wrong. You're totally wrong. And that's the problem. People
Can
get
you-
this one
hold
bill,
on, hold on. What, your question,
the town tax.
so I pay school tax and then I pay the.
That's right.
Oh, sorry, excuse me?
You pay school
So
tax.
I'm not saying school tax. The other part of my tax bill, which is town and ambulance and
County,
county.
library, fire
that-
department.
yeah, correct. That is over 1,000.
But your town tax, what goes to the town of Amenia. And it's amazing.
Okay.
People don't know that.
It all goes technically to the town of Amenia, and then Dawn has to pay everybody else out, but
They got a lecture the other night.
just if we're getting
Just
real
for
specific.
ballpark
Well,
figures,
the
okay? Because nobody.
Implied rate went down for general.
Yeah. Looks like the general fund went down almost 8%.
That was,
The general fund is going down 8%. Basically, on a $200,000 house, average town tax is about $500, okay? The way this is set up, everybody's going to save, the average person is going to save over $20. Not a big deal, but that's, well, you're telling me you're staying under the cap. There is extra money there, and you didn't do the work properly. The town tax year is going to go down if you adopt this budget, okay? It was 2.48 per thousand in 17. This year it's 2.40. You just add the two numbers up. So it's going to go down. So you had extra money.
and the taxable assessed value is higher than last
Absolutely,
year,
and that's
too.
the reason. I tried to explain that.
I already know that.
Well, yeah, but you couldn't even tell me if the tax was going up or down, but that's all right.
It's
Okay.
pretty obvious that the tax is going down because the town tax is a combination of highway and general.
Yes. But that's when I asked you that, you didn't, anyway. So I know there's extra money. I'll leave it at that. I think if you adopt this,
There isn't extra money. We also have additional debt we have to pay.
if you adopt this budget this evening with no further review, you're doing a disservice to the taxpayers and the residents. You've rushed through this with one meeting, and no meetings with department heads.
Nobody rushed, I did not rush through this. I've been working on this budget
You.
since September.
The board's supposed to vote on this. That's what I said, it's your...
Well, we've
it's your-
been, we have meetings. We had a budget meeting.
You had one meeting.
Well,
Thank you.
I tried to have two.
I know. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Supervisor's report. The county is accepting HEAP applications, which is a reduced, a benefit for reduced oil and heating oil. There are several locations where you can get an application. One is at the DCFS Eastern Dutchess Government Center in Millbrook, DCFS Beacon Office in Beacon, New York, DCFS Main Office in Poughkeepsie, Community Action, and Dutchess County Office for the Aging. If you are in need of assistance with your heating oil for the winter, this is the place you would need to go to apply for this assistance. On Tuesday, November 14th, I was invited to attend a local government innovation conference. One of the things they had several speakers. One of the speakers was the supervisor from Gallatin, who went over how the approaches to building information and how they had digitized the maps in their comprehensive plan and used GIS to put parcels within fire districts, and how also using Google Earth mapping. They track roads by paving and contractors. They also did an overlay map to show star exemptions so that they can use that for emergency response to take care of services. They map DEC wetlands and floodplains. These are just some of the things that you can do to enhance the information you get from the comprehensive plan. Local supervisor Bob Lacola in Fishkill went over a data management program that he put together with several other towns, and he also won an award for it. And it was all part of setting up an asset management program for the individual towns. It was very informative, got a lot of good information, and which I plan to put to good use for the town. Would just like to remind everybody to shop local when you're doing your Christmas shopping, and the local businesses can certainly use your patronage. Town clerk report.
Good evening. I'd like to begin the town clerk's report this evening by thanking all of our Amenia voters that came out and voted this past election season. Circulated to the town board prior to the meeting were the minutes of November 2nd regular meeting and the November 8th special budget meeting. Has the board had the opportunity to review these sets of minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we approve? Motion to approve the November 2nd, 2017 minutes and the November 8th special meeting minutes, 2017. Oh, you want to do them one at a time? Is everybody at both of them?
I read them both.
Yeah, they were both, yeah, all four of you were at
Okay, so everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
approving
Yes.
both sets
Yeah.
in one motion. Okay. I just need a second.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
I also circulated the vouchers for this month, and I present to the board that the vouchers on the abstract dated November 14th, consisting of 9 pages, were audited And I present to the board general fund in the amount of $62,072.64. Highway fund, $24,742.34. Amenia lighting, $1,588.84. Wasaic lighting, $557.20. Amenia water, $34,789.27, for a total of $123,750.29.
I'll move that we approve the payment of the vouchers as described.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Also, I received the hard copies of our audit that was completed for the town's cash accounts, prepared by RBT. At this time, I'm looking to see if the board can approve that audit, so we may forward it to the state agencies that are seeking their copy. I know Marge came around handing them out.
Yeah, they're in there.
They were putting in their
Boxes.
mailboxes.
So,
So RBT, Denise Williamson's firm, had completed the cash audit on all of our accounts and made...
The justices one has to be sent
We
in.
need to get the justice one sent to them, because then they have to approve our minutes. So I can't send it until we get approved minutes, so it all goes together.
so you need a motion to
Yeah.
send the justice audit
To-
information to,
Whether you're going to approve the
RBT.
entire audit, or at least approve the justice part at this time is the one that I'm really looking for. But they
Oh.
completed the audit on your chief financial officer, the
Right.
town clerk, the tax collector, the justice court, and the water department. All of our cash accounts have been audited by an outside firm who went through and
make comments.
followed
Yeah, they do it
the
every
state
year.
comptroller's,
Yeah.
what
I
they
haven't had a
wanted.
chance to read it yet.
Okay. I can, I'll
Has
present it.
anybody else read it?
Okay, so the hard copies are in your mailbox. I will be asking again then at the first December meeting,
Okay.
because then I can't send it to the second December meeting when you approve my minutes. Okay, so I'm just gonna table that, guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
Also, today we had a deadline of advertised volunteers, and I've received a request for reappointment from Recreation Commission, Scott Russo. I've received the request for reappointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals, John Metcalf, also known as Terry. And Planning Board, we've received 2 applications.
One open seat there?
There's 1 open seat.
There'll be 2 in January.
So,
Did you want to interview or?
do you want to interview them, or do you want to reappoint?
So, for the commission, I don't think we
Scott-
need to do that.
Yeah, Scott Russo was appointed several years ago, fulfilling an unexpired term. He is the only one that has sought reappointment. And then in regards to the Zoning Board of Appeals, again, Terry Metcalf is the only applicant who is seeking reappointment. And then for the
And
planning...
John is also seeking reappointment
And
for
then-
the planning board.
Yep.
So I would feel comfortable with Scott Russo because it's a commission, but the 2 other appointed board seats, I think we should interview Terry. It's another 5-year term. And then planning board would be John and Bobby are those 2 candidates for that seat. How does everybody else feel?
Okay, when did you want to do that?
This coming week isn't too bad for me.
We could go the week after, too.
After Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
Or
because
the week of?
our December meeting isn't until the 1st, the week after, so.
The 30th?
30th looks fine to me.
November
Until the
30th?
8th, I mean,
30th.
Thursday.
What time?
or the 7th.
What time's good?
I think it's okay. I don't know what time.
I just need a time.
Doesn't matter.
6:30?
6:30?
6:30 again?
Now, what day is this?
The
Thursday, the 30th.
Okay. 6:30? 6:30 it is.
CBA and planning
Planning
board.
board. But you'd like to go ahead and appoint Scott tonight?
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Scott Russo to the Recreation Commission for a 7-year term.
Second, okay. Nope, that's okay.
Damien? Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
All right, and I'll contact the 3 candidates in regards to those 2 positions. Also, I'd like to let the public know that it was announced earlier that we have an adopted budget. That is not the case. At this evening, I did receive what is being proposed as the 2018 budget. The town board has not made an action on that, and it is an agenda item. So there is no official adopted, but it is part of my report to acknowledge that I have received what was presented and the changes that were made effective the special meeting that took place on November 8th. And then just for my 2 community announcements, come out and support your local fire departments on Sunday. No, let's start with this one first. Let's go in chronological order. Friday, December 1st, beginning at 6 p.m. is going to be our Parade of Lights here in the town of Amenia.
Wow.
And then the following week, Wasake Fire Company will be hosting their annual Parade of Lights, Sunday, December 10th, with a lineup at 4 p.m. and parade at 5. So thank you, and continue to support your fire departments and come out and show your support. And that'll conclude the town clerk's report this evening. Thank you.
No, we don't have an actual highway report, but we do have a resolution to authorizing the town board to purchase town highway machinery. It would be resolution number
55.
Whereas the town superintendent of highways did on the 16th day of November 2017 duly recommend the purchase of certain equipment pursuant to the provisions of Section 142 of the Highway Law. Now therefore be it resolved that the town superintendent of highways is authorized to purchase, in accordance with the provisions of Article 5A of the General Municipal Law, the following: 2018 International 7500 4x4 with 11-foot plow and all-season dump body on Onondaga County bid reference number 7832 for a maximum price of $200,500. A contract for the item purchased shall be duly executed between the town superintendent of highways and such vendor. When the contract has been executed upon delivery of the item purchased, the supervisor shall pay the following amounts as specified: $200,500 from budgetary appropriation for purchase capital project 51124.3.35.0. Can I make that motion?
Second.
Supervisor Parodi?
Yes.
Councilman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Langle's absent. Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
And Councilman Morris?
Yes.
We also have a grant administrator report. The Waxahachie Trail to the Train, the original award was $480,000. The local match is $120,000. For Waxahachie Trail to the Train, we have a New York State DOT grant of $250,000. From Waxahachie Trail to the Train, we have a $100,000 CDBG grant. From Waxahachie Trail to the Train, we have a $100,000 grant. Amenia Sidewalks, we have a completed grant. We asked for $150,000. It ended up, we could only do a portion of the sidewalk that we wanted to do. so the total amount was more around $56,000. Amenia Town Hall CDBG grant for $93,000 is for handicap accessibility at Town Hall. We're working on the bid specs to send them out. Joint ambulance study, $190,000. We'll be having a meeting here on November 30th with the supervisors from Northeast and Dover and the county to look at providing a joint ambulance service between the 3 towns and also the village of Millerton. Phase 2 will look at the entire county. At some point, the county will send out an RFP for a consultant to do a feasibility study. Kitchen grant, we still have $500, a completed grant proposal from Berkshire to Conic. The grant writer is currently looking into other grants, other kitchen grants that we would be able to apply for. Main Street Phase 2 Office Community Renewal, we applied for $350,000. We're seeking building renovations in downtown Amenia. We won't be hearing whether or not we get that grant until December. Wassaic Park, we've applied for a CDBG $100,000 grant. I just was asked about some questions about the easement around that area and also whether or not there was a floodplain, if there had been any flooding. So I had sent that information back to the advisory committee. And then we also applied for a $10,000 grant from the Hudson River Valley Greenway, and we were not awarded that this round. Committee reports.
I have a committee report from the CAC, but before I read that, I wanted to add to the grant report in that we were awarded $4,000 for the Theater Arts Program from Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation's Northeast Duchess Fund. They've been very generous to the town of Amenia, and they've been very supportive of this project for as long as I can remember. So I think that particular fund at Berkshire Taconic for taking seriously this outreach for, they try to get, their focus is in the Northeast Duchess corner, trying to provide opportunities such as, cultural, artistic, enrichment activities for students who would not otherwise be able to participate. So we appreciate that help. And then the other group that, organization that helped pay for this year's program is Arts Mid-Hudson, which has been managing the decentralization funds from New York State's Council on the Art. And they gave us a grant of $750, so we have raised $4,750 towards the program this year. So with that, I was writing for a renewed application of a grant from Arts Mid-Hudson for their arts and education program. And so I missed this meeting yesterday. Can't believe it was just yesterday. It's all a blur.
Life is a blur.
Life is a blur, but it was yesterday. Anyway, they discussed briefly the Trail to the Train at the Conservation Advisory Council meeting last night, and the Kent Hollow proposed mine. I wasn't there, so I'm reading the notes from the meeting. We were opposed to giving WSB, our Trail to the Train design firm, the construction supervision position for the following reasons. The contract they signed with the town did not include that in their assigned duties, and they are not entitled to it. That original estimate for the job was $70,000, and they are asking nearly double that, citing overhead expenses, some of which show up in the engineer's estimate to be included in the construction costs. And there is that fox in the chicken coop syndrome of having them overseeing their own work. I want to just address, unless you prefer, Victoria, this. We did have a contract that did not include construction inspection. I believe what happened is that the New York State DOT said that's not okay to not include that in their original contract. So the design work that we had hired cells to do, at that time they were named WSP cells, the DOT, which administers the main grant for this project, did not agree with that, and they made us go back and check off construction inspections. So we have that revised amendment to that contract. So they do have authorization to do it. And additionally, we were concerned about the vagueness of the specifications on the proposed 8,400 square foot of boardwalk. We feel that there needs to be more detail on the type of material used, i.e. pressure treated versus something else, and the type and placement of fasteners. Since it has to be cleared of snow and otherwise maintained, these are important questions to ask. When we look closely at the maps, we found that several hundred feet of the proposed trail is actually located on New York State Department of Transportation property instead of the MTA property that was given to the town as part of our right-of-way agreements, or is about to be given to the town. Either the maps are in error or WSB has misplaced the location of the trail. The area in question is the part of the trail that closely follows the wetland and is boardwalk. The town has to be sure of the fact that they actually own the land that this project is going to be built on. The maps are official maps, and they show part of the trail on New York State DOT property. On Kent Hollow, we looked at the photos that I sent you last week. So there's some aerial photos that look at the mine from year to year to year. That seem to show that the material being removed from the mine recently may have been originally mined several years earlier and stockpiled. We agreed that this point should be presented to the town's environmental lawyer. The same set of maps show a lot of activity in prior years that we found interesting. Under other stuff, which is not, okay, so I think that's it for the CAC.
Okay.
I will mention that we did do a big cleanup for Veterans Day at M&T Bank, the Veterans Memorial Park, Fountain Square, and it looked really good for Veterans Day, and that was the Enhancement Committee. Victoria joined us. Deirdre Houston, our new county legislator, joined us. And you were there, yes?
I was there.
Okay, thank you. So it was a big group, and Herb had his truck, and we just did a lot of heavy lifting on that day, and it paid off because the next, for Veterans Day, it looked very, very nice. That's it.
Okay. Do you have a,
Copy
is
of
that
that?
from an email?
You are welcome to that, yes.
Okay, because I want
And I
to,
can forward it to the rest of the town board. So this
yeah, but
part that's CAC related is these two paragraphs.
yeah, I know, I want to send this to Dan Breyer.
Yeah, the line, the mapping sounds like it's a question.
Well, we do have, there is some New York State DOT property because we had to get a permit from them,
Yep.
and which we have.
So they will allow us to build in there
Yeah,
within their right of way?
we have the permit.
Okay, and that probably would solve that question.
Okay, under actions, set the January date for the reorganization meeting. I believe we agreed that we would have the reorg meeting on our first meeting, which was January 4th. And what time? I wasn't sure what time, because we can have it a little earlier.
And I will
Put in
be
here
away.
6, but we discussed that.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what the time is.
I had 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? Okay.
Right?
6
You
o'clock,
said
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
6 o'clock on the 4th.
All right.
Can I participate from South Africa? I guess if I announce it. I could Skype in if I announce it as a public space.
We'll send you a copy of the reorg so you could go over it in
Thanks for
spirit.
making more.
Yeah,
You can watch it on YouTube, too.
that's true, a little bit after the fact.
And it starts to get costly when you have to do those
Really?
legal notices.
Oh, you'd have to legally.
You have to do a legal
Oh,
notice.
for goodness sake.
Okay, I have the resolution for the WSP sales supplemental agreement. For the $135,000 that the DOT has done their audit and approved. And for them to do the supplemental agreement is part of the contract, as Vicki said. And I gave you a copy of the signature page.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
Resolution number
56.
56, 2017, approving an amendment to agreement with WSP Cells for professional engineering services related to the Wassaic Trail to the Train project. Whereas on or around October 20th, 2011, the town of Amenia and WSP Cells entered into an architectural engineering consultant agreement by which WSP Cells agreed to provide architectural and engineering services to the town related to the Wassaic Trail to the Train project. And whereas the Wassaic Trail to the Train project involves the extension of the Harlem Valley Rail Trail into the hamlet of Wassaic, and the project has been actively ongoing for the past 6 years, including environmental review, funding, and permitting, all of which is complete at this time. Whereas additional construction inspection and construction support services are necessary to complete the project, but were not included in the original project scope under the agreement. And whereas based on the foregoing, WSP requested an amendment to the agreement to include such construction inspection, construction support services. And whereas following negotiations with WSP and based on its history of providing valuable engineering services to the town board hereby desires to amend the agreement with WSP to include these additional professional services. And whereas this is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and therefore not subject to review under SECRA. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby approves the proposal from WSP Cells to provide construction inspection and construction support for the duration of the construction, which is anticipated to be 3 months. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the amendment to agreement for the additional professional services. Make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I was contacted by some people in the town about this, and I tried to get my head around the whole thing since I'm a late comer to this whole thing. And I noted that this contract now is over 6 years old. The original contract provided for work to be done by the consultant basically into 10 subdivisions, if you will, the 9th of which was the inspection, which was intentionally omitted. And I know the reason why, because they figured it would be later on and rates change and things like that, so I understand that. But the total amount for the main contract with the 9 sections completed was $94,000. And this one proposal that came to us was, I think, initially around $260,000 for number 9, which is the inspection. It's been reduced to $135,000. I don't know whether that's appropriate. I don't know whether it's fair. I don't know whether it's a good deal. But I've come to the conclusion that we have to be practical with this. This matter has been going on for over 6 years. I think to delay it any more by sending it out for a new bid would probably be counterproductive. And so I've decided that I will vote for it.
Just to piggyback on that a bit, because it does tie in with what you were saying earlier, Vicki, they are currently authorized to do this work by their existing contract. What Jim just stated, which is correct, is that in their current contract it didn't specify an amount or rate or how much this phase of the project was going to cost. And that, in my opinion, is just a contractual error. I mean, not an oversight, but like the town shouldn't have entered into sort of an open-ended. I mean, understanding that, you know, rates change and all that. Still, there should have been some cap, or something, or some limit put into that contract back in 2011 that would have prevented us from having to be in the situation today. But I agree with you, Jim. At this point, breaking the contract with WSP, I'm not pleased about this process at all, and I'm not. But I really do want that project to move forward. I want to take advantage of the grant money we have while we still have it. And so I am also going to vote for this begrudgingly, but I think it's just time to move forward and, reevaluate our contracting process and our relationships with our engineering firms moving forward.
Amen to that.
And I think I would also vote in favor with the caveat, obviously, that, they've done their homework correctly and that the land that appears to be on the New York State DOT portion, in fact, is okay because it's granted as part of our highway permit, and that we continue to ask them to give us more information about that boardwalk so that we can be absolutely sure that the maintenance will be as minimal as we can or as cost-effective as we can in picking out the materials that will be appropriate for snow removal and for longevity, that it's not going to need to be replaced in 10 years. Whatever material, if it costs a little bit, 3 times as much, and we don't have to replace it for 30 years versus 10, I would go for the 30 years.
Okay. Well,
Supervisor Perotti?
yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
And Delango's absent.
Renew the water operator contract. I'm tabling that because the attorney is still working on the language in the contract.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Is that not something that we put out to bid, or how does that work? That's just our current contract allows for the renewal? There's an
Yes, it's services.
service.
Professional services.
Professional services.
Got it.
Aren't required to go out to bid.
Okay.
I'll just mention also that the Water Committee is in favor of having that contract renewed. They've been working with Marco and have found him to be extremely helpful in this very, very important service that is so vital, providing clean, safe drinking water to our residents.
I agree with that. I just noted that the contract amount had gone up
Yep.
on a monthly basis. It hasn't gone up, according to Marco's letter, in a decade.
At
No, it
least.
hasn't?
Yeah.
So it's understandable. I just wanted to understand if that monthly increase was
Yeah.
comparatively fair.
Okay, the next item on the budget is to adopt the 2018 budget. I have sent an email, made a copy of the email, telling you the last time we reviewed the budget, we recommended some changes. They were from the interest and earnings change from 1,250 to 1,350. The tax collector from 4,775 to 4,965, and the assessor line, the only change was the data collector from 1,664 to 1,756 for more hours. We changed the engineering from 6,500 to 5,500 and added $1,000 to the kitchen. The other thing I also found that would help us keep us under the cap is to change the codification from the attorney line from $3,000 to $2,000. Since last year, we used less than $2,000, and to date this year, it's well under that amount. So it made sense not to, if we don't need to tax the taxpayers that amount, not to do it. The budget is $1,512 under the 1.84% tax cap. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the 2018 budget for the town of Amenia.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Go ahead.
So just to clarify the process here, and I think I'll address some of Wayne's comments later because I understand where he's coming from some points, but basically you have 2 jobs. You're the supervisor, you're also the budget director, financial chief of the town.
And it isn't just doing, yeah, that book is my responsibility. I gave all that information to the secretary, and she put it together for you.
Right.
The finance or budget director, whatever you want to call my position, it isn't just doing the budget at the end of the year, it's monitoring it month after month, which is why, you see transfer funds, because it's very important to keep each line whole.
Right, and I did a version of this for Jim's benefit, because when I was new to the budget process, it took me a while to figure out how it all worked, but figure a concise version of that would be beneficial for the public. But so, you looking at the budget from years past, and then comparing that to actual spend for each of those line items for each department. You put together a rough draft based on that, and then also feedback or these worksheets that are handed in by each of the department heads.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's the worksheets, looking at the last operating statement from last year, so I could see at the end of the year how much we actually spent in that line. It's a whole process. It isn't just the worksheets and,
Right.
Working with the department heads, you have to look at everything. And then we look at, I look at the operating statements to date and compare amounts to, to try to get a reasonable amount in each budget line that will cover that line for the year.
Right. I mean, it's a giant exercise in compromise, which is a difficult thing to do when you have a town to run and a limited budget. But basically, just so everybody understands, Victoria takes the input, the real numbers from last year, the amount we budgeted, the actual amount that we spent, what all the department heads are saying they need, what things might be on the horizon for the town. Like our budget was changed 2 years ago in anticipation of extra building department revenue this year because of Silo Ridge. So that's an example of a temporal change that might affect a budget. Anyways, that all goes into this book, and then that book is circulated to the town board, and there's various phases or iterations of the budget. There's the draft, and then there's the, what are they actually called?
Preliminary.
Tentative, preliminary,
and
and then finally the adopted.
Yeah, we have to follow the calendar set by municipal law.
And then copies of those budgets are also made available to the public at these meetings and at the town clerk's office. I am very thankful that we do have people come give us feedback on what they would ideally like to see the town do. And that includes all the people that run departments here, whether they're salaried or volunteers, or, I mean, that is great feedback to hear in person. But again, this exercise is a compromise because we have a few things we want to do, ideally, which is not tax people unnecessarily, to Victoria's earlier point, and then also stay below the tax cap imposed by the state. Do you want to describe what happens if we go over the tax cap?
Oh, yes, if we go over the tax cap without passing a resolution saying that we're going to go over the tax cap, what the comptroller's office will do is they will take the amount of money that we're over the tax cap, put it in an escrow account, and we're not allowed to use it.
So anyways, that's the process. We did have a public meeting. When was that, Dawn?
November 8th.
November 8th, which I think was a valuable exercise for the town board as a group, and also the public clearly is welcome to come in and join. But this group went through every single line item, all 8-9 pages of
11 pages.
unruled grid, as Vicki pointed out.
I have one small request that we add grid lines.
Add grid
to
lines.
this next
Okay.
time. It's so
Next
easy.
year, you get grid lines.
And it wasn't, there was back and forth. There were requests for compromises in some areas, requests for funding of certain initiatives based on feedback we had all received. And, ultimately, I'm pretty proud of the budget that Victoria first drafted and that we ultimately crafted, and so with that, I'm going to vote to approve.
I would just like to say that if we need to, I'd be happy to accept with regret Wayne's resignation, I guess, at another time. But anyway, I looked over his worksheet. It's very, he wanted $51,000 for the kitchen. There was not an if, ands, or buts about that. And I've been constantly asking the kitchen committee and Leo since the beginning, could you break this into phases so that we understand year to year what we could put towards it in a modest amount and come up with the total amount, which was $109,000 is what he thought originally the estimate would be for a commercial kitchen. But I said, can't we do it in phases where we tackle 1 year the flooring and the walls, and then another year the, what makes sense, the electrical. If we're doing electrical somewhere else, we hire in the electrician to tail that in. I haven't seen any of that. I don't know why we can't move forward on some of this work. Why the $28,000 or $30,000 he says here is in our 2016 town budget. I understand that's been...
It's still there.
It's, so that's going to roll over for access next year, is that correct?
Right, it's in a capital
It's in a capital
fund.
reserve. So we have $30,000. They haven't spent it. They have $15,000 that the Rec Commission gave them years ago. They haven't spent that. They have a $750 from Berkshire Taconic. They said they're not going to give it to you until they have a plan. Nobody wants to throw money at it until we know what that could happen. Do we need the entire $109,000 in their pocket before they can move forward? I don't understand. Does anybody sit on that committee that could answer these questions, or is that, has anybody been attending these meetings? Okay, so.
Well, I've gone to a couple of the meetings. I did explain that, the town actually paid to have all the asbestos taken out of the kitchen when we did the planning board room.
Which was a safety concern. OSHA, we have to have it up to code, right?
Right.
The building has to be,
Right.
meet basic codes.
We also have done, some construction in there. Part of our SAM grant, when we have the windows done, the windows in there will be replaced.
Okay.
So there's plans to do basic things. Right now, from my understanding, the holdup is the Department of Health. And they've been working with Rich Renia, and Mike Segleton has been working with the Department of Health to see what else they need. I know the Lions Club has donated
13,000.
Grease.
No, that
sorry.
wasn't 13. They've donated, paying,
Septic
they've
and
been
grease
paying,
traps
they've been
installation.
paying for the engineer for the septic. So all that's in process. The holdup right now has been the Department of Health. But I think going forward, I think the original plan was for this was be a commercial kitchen. I think I'm thinking that going forward that I'm going to get in touch with the Red Cross and see exactly what they require for a kitchen for a regional shelter. What their expectations are, because I think we already have the the engineer to put the generator in. If we're doing that, we can work toward the kitchen too, but putting in a serviceable kitchen and, what we would really need to have for a regional shelter instead of the commercial kitchen that we originally planned for. But,
It just seems like if we could get bite-sized pieces of it, so we said, okay, for $20,000, I could get you X done next year, and here's what it would cost, and here's the timeline. All we get is just a subtraction of things, and we need the balance right now. So in one budget, it doesn't really make sense to throw $50,000
No, it doesn't.
at it.
Great, so I didn't mean to derail the vote, but...
no, that's okay. And part of,
Derailed
what I had in the in the engineering line has been, paying for fees that went to the Department of Health, so it isn't
have been
like
paying,
we
right.
have been doing things out of our budget.
Right, and I think there is room in, let's see, we have 50,000 in contingency, if I'm remembering correctly. We've done very well on the budget this year. If things go well, there's no reason why we couldn't. If we had a proposal that makes sense, for a modest amount of money, we could probably allocate it midstream if we had concrete information about what it was we could get done this year in this budget.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth in the new year
Revisiting.
putting it on the agenda as a discussion point, inviting some folks from the committee
Sure.
to come in. So I didn't want to
We
make this
can do
about the
that.
I just wanted to say that in general, this process is what you saw a small subset of it today, which is, someone is advocating that the town should spend tax money in a certain way, and that's a valid opinion. All opinions are valid, right? So that's fair, but it's the job of this budget exercise on an annual basis to take all that feedback in, weigh it, and then try to do the most responsible thing possible for town taxpayers. So I think we did a decent job here. Hopefully taxes will go down a bit. But thank Wayne for his feedback and his advocacy of his projects, and I would encourage others, if you want to see things funded, then come in and speak for them as well. I'm done.
Okay, let's move on,
All right.
folks.
Councilman Morris? And we're voting on the budget.
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Yes, happy-
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
With Malengo is absent, so it's a 4-1. Now we have an adopted budget, and this will be put on our website in the morning, and copies will be made available in the town clerk's office beginning Monday morning.
Custodian service for the town hall. I mean, right now, we're using a company. I don't know if you want to advertise again.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and it seems that if people are stepping up to the plate and making sure the building is closed and everything's turned off, and they're, respecting the place, it'll be, my worry is that a custodian is an integral part of making sure this building is open and available and clean, and everybody's respecting it correctly. Right now, it seems like we have a pretty full schedule. We have very good people coming in, according to what I've been hearing. I think maybe we just go with the paid service. If it's commensurate, it's not increasing our allocation, and we just have a professional service come in and out, and everybody maintains their responsible.
And then if we have special events other than what we have here, we can use the constables to secure the building if we need to.
Yeah. I think because we have a handyman in the form of John Scott, he can fill in the gap that John performed.
Yeah, he has been doing, a lot of, fixing, electrical work. He's putting the wires up for the outside cameras. And, he does a lot of that kind of the work here, so.
I think
Okay.
contractual service is a good way to go.
I think I'm fine with that as a stopgap, given the situation we're in right now. I would ultimately like to, ideally, we could find somebody in town who would be interested in having that job, and then we could pay somebody to do that, avoid paying a company and a middleman, and keep more of that money in town and be nice. I'm going to channel Mike a bit, but I think if we did have a public works department or team, that role could sit as part of that team. That would make sense, and then maybe we could look at organizing something like that in the new year.
Well, we can, get some numbers together and look at it. Amenia NY Citizens of the Year requested recommendations. I have several recommendations. I think after the meeting, we can talk about it. December 3rd, the Amenia Town Hall, Santa will be here from 3:30 to 5. And there will be a free gift for each child. At 5 o'clock, we'll have free raffles. We'll do the Citizen of the Year Award, and we'll have our tree lighting. On December 10th, the Wassaic Firehouse is doing Santa and raffles from 2 to 4. And then their parade starts at 5, I guess, 5 o'clock, and then we'll have Citizen of the Year and tree lighting at 5 o'clock after the parade. Is there anything, is that everything? Oh, yes. Well, I'm not down to other matters yet. Okay. I'm not going to forget my transfer of funds.
Just moving you.
Good God, no.
Okay, other matters. Talk about moving money from time to time.
Are we ready to transfer the funds?
Yep, resolution number 57.
Yes.
Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund, increasing expense line 83404.06, transmission distribution by $50,477.35, by increasing the water appropriated fund balance account 599 by $50,477.35, by transferring from the Water District Capital Project CD to the general fund for water valve and other upgrades to the Water District. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 40201.01 registrar vital statistics PS by $760 and decreasing 40204.01 registrar vital statistics CE by $760 to comply with the accountant's instructions to use PS line for registrar vital statistics charges. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing revenue line 2680.01 insurance recoveries by $15,870 and increasing expense line 16204.01.062 building CE maintenance by $5,870 for planning board room repair reimbursement and increasing 16204.01.124 building CE snow removal by $10,000 for contractual expense. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 14204.00 attorney CE by $12,789.86 and decreasing expense line 16204.01.059 building CE heat by $10,000 and decreasing expense line 714.51.01 summer rec program by $2,789.86 for attorney expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 80204.1 planning CE special land use attorney $1,633.88 and decreasing expense line 19004.01.057 special item CE grant administrator by $1,000, decreasing expense line 75104.01 historian CE by $200.34, and decreasing expense line 80204.01.102 planning CE rail planning CE planning rail by $433.54 for attorney expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 16604.04.074 central storm CE supplies by $888.24 and decreasing expense line 11104.01.051 justice CE dues by $210, decreasing expense line 11104.01.076 justices CE technical support by $197, and decreasing expense line 11104.01.078 justices CE training by $481.24 for justice's supplies. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorize the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transactions. Can I make that motion?
Second.
Any questions?
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Absent for Delaney.
Is there any public comment? Chris? Nope. Okay. Town board comment?
Vicki, did you have a motion you wanted to make?
I don't know, do we have to accept a committee chair's resignation? Or is it just
I don't know.
informal, that's within the committee itself
From the
decides what to
committee.
do?
No, you would, if he's formally resigning, you would accept his
Who's re-
resignation.
I'll do it whether we need it or not, I guess. I make a motion that we formally, with regret, accept Wayne Uvard's resignation from the kitchen committee as chair.
Second?
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
I also have a press release that I would like to read for our Amenia Youth Theater. Will present a holiday musical review 2017 at the Amenia Town Hall Auditorium in Amenia on Saturday, December 9th at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday, December 10th at 3 o'clock p.m. So we're going to have two performances. These free performances, I can see a typo right there, appropriate for all ages, will bring to life familiar songs from movies such as Polar Express and Frozen, as well as traditional holiday tunes. The youth theater students will be singing, waltzing, and tap dancing throughout the program, which was beautifully scripted and choreographed for each student by instructor Heather Holohan-Garneri. The Amenia Youth Theater, a group of dedicated second through high school students, have been working with Ms. Holohan-Garneri each Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m. since September 16th. Performers include Georgia Chen, Olivia Chen, Ella Compatello, Sonia, do you know how to pronounce that? Kalawazik, Emma Manning, Grace Manning, Sophia Marcus, Gwen Messina, Kyra McLennan, Giselle Oros, Zoe Romanowski, Lindsay Smith, Gussie Smith, Gabriella Titone, Kaylee Whitehead. Amenia's free theater arts program and holiday musical review was made possible through a grant from Berkshire Taconix's Northeast Duchess Fund and Decentralization Program funds, a re-grant program of the New York State Council on the Arts with support from Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature, administered by Arts Mid-Hudson. So
Okay, did you give that to Mike for 22?
I gave it to Mike, and we're going to be figuring out our sound system, and
then
we'll
it
be
needs to go on the website.
trying to get people to help us with stage curtains and spotlights and rentals and all that fun stuff, actually running a performance. So we're looking for volunteers to help us actually man the things as well. So
Now, are you going to do another flyer that has the dates and the times?
yes, a
Okay.
flyer with the basics will be up on the website shortly.
Okay.
And we'd love to see you out there that night. So that's the same night, I think, as the Wassaic Parade.
No,
So you-
it's in,
the
oh, when?
10th,
The 10th.
is going to overlap with the Wassaic Parade, but
What
it's
time
at
is
3
that?
o'clock is our performance, and 5 o'clock is the parade down there. So you'll
should
see
be
the
fine.
performance from 3 to 4 and hightail it down to Wassaic to see that. And I don't think we need constables for just the parents and the spectators. So, okay.
Well, we kind of spread everything out this year.
Yep.
So we have Christmas for 2 weeks in a row. Lots of Christmas things to go to.
And lots of parking available for each event.
I wanted to congratulate Jim and Victoria and Dawn Marie
Oh,
for your. Do we have an update for everyone on the status of the other elected positions?
Board of Elections has not provided anything formal.
Well, they had to have the absentee ballots had to be completed yesterday.
Okay.
Last I knew that I think the military ballots are allowed a longer time to get there. So we probably won't see the status of all the write-ins until probably Monday. Unless you could check on Friday, they may have it by then, but we'll see.
They keep saying the end of the week, so we got to give them till Friday, the end of the week.
Sounds good. I did also receive a letter, which I've been asked to read, and Vicki, this kind of pigtails with your comments about the boardwalk decking material. And
Okay.
there are a lot of details about the Wasaic Trail to the Train project that have yet to be ironed out, and those things will happen as they put the
Bid specs
put the
together.
bid
Right.
specs together and all that. So now is a great time. This letter I received from a Wasaic resident, or an email. We're terribly sorry we're not able to make it to the town meeting tonight in lieu of our being unable to attend. Would you please make our feelings and those feelings of those around us know to those at the meeting and to those controlling powers overseeing the portion of the rail trail running from the Wasaic train station to the hamlet. Our home is directly adjacent to where the rail trail is going to run, as are other homes. While we are very happy for the rail trail to come to the hamlet, we are strictly opposed to the idea of both 24-hour continuous lighting as well as street light height lighting. Neither of these things are necessary, nor are they concurrent with how the rest of the trail operates. We also understand that this portion of the trail is DOT and not parkland. In this regard, 24-hour lighting is not concurrent as well on our local streets and highways. This is a rural community, and this lighting would be an intrusion to our homes and lives. Not only would this be extremely offensive to those of us living on the trail, it would be extremely wasteful. The lighting could easily be in motion sensor. The lighting could be low height lighting, just a foot above the path, requiring much lower energy demands while performing a much better job. Both the lower height lighting and motion sensor lighting would cost less because it would draw less energy, and there would be no need for tall street lamps. Street lamps are built at 13 feet to hang above tractor trailers and oversized vehicles. It makes no sense whatsoever to apply the same lighting scheme to a foot and bike
I
path.
don't think they were that high anyway.
I don't think they were proposed. They
No.
were pedestrian,
Pedestrian
meant for
ones.
pedestrian. But at any rate, I agree that extraneous lighting for lighting is not going to be,
Absolutely.
forget it.
So the
But we
letter
have
just
to light
ends with, please listen to us because we are members of this community and the trail is directly in effect, as well as members of the community who will be footing the tax bill that shouldn't be paying for an overpriced, unconsidered, inappropriate lighting plan. Thank you very much, Lauren Wass Ekstrom and Adam Ekstrom.
Okay.
There are a lot of good points there. I know the lighting has come up in discussion at the CAC previously. I do think you're right. I think that the last I saw in the plan.
Yeah,
there
and
were-
I mean,
As an
and the
alternate
project doesn't include the lighting, it just includes the, whatever, I don't know, whatever the lighting would go into.
Preparing.
Yeah.
It prepares for the
Right.
lighting.
Lays the groundwork for lighting.
The lighting has to be, additional.
And DOT they are mandating though that it is lit, correct?
Oh, yeah, well, we got a transportation grant, it has to be lit 24/7, but it doesn't have to be lit brightly so that it's, in people's homes. I mean, you can use lighting, and still light the trail and not have the lighting be offensive to anyone.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I agree. If it has to be lit, then motion detectors, if it's at all feasible, why light it just to be lighting up a
Well,
rural hamlet? I mean,
Yeah, I think one of
doesn't
the
make sense.
things, I think that was discussed somewhere along the line was solar lighting.
Yeah, but still, you want,
But it doesn't have to be bright. I mean, it'd make more sense to put something like LED.
Yeah, I mean, if they could be motion triggered, that'd be great. I could just see it turning into a bear disco
Yeah,
pretty quickly, but,
yeah, we could talk about that.
all right. That's it.
Okay?
Have anything?
Nothing?
Yes, Jim? Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
8:48.